Moana. After surprising the whole world by releasing one of the best animated features of the decade, Disney has returned once again in 2016 by bringing us to the Pacific Islands. Unlike last time, where nobody would ever expect Zootopia to be such a magnificently thought-provoking feature, this one, admittedly, we might know what to expect, since it does look like it could follow more the traditional Disney formula. But then again, no one's complaining about it. In fact, that's what's getting people excited, especially when this will be the directorial return of two of the most beloved directors of the Disney Renaissance, John Musker and Ron Clements. But now that Moana is set to go on her journey, will Disney's magic translate well in Polynesian, or will the movie end up being all washed up? Let's find out. The story. Right at the start, the story begins rather slow. I guess I'll just start off by saying that the movie's biggest weakness is that it didn't make a good first impression, mostly going through the same territories that it did with other Disney films, most namely The Little Mermaid. You got your main protagonist, who is the daughter of a king, or chief in this case, who wants to go explore the world, but her overprotective father wouldn't let her because he wants her to stay safe. In fact, the movie begins straight up by telling the entire plot of the feature in just a few minutes in the form of a legend. However, right at the moment when Moana decides to go out on her adventure, that's when it picks up to become what we've been anticipating for from a Polynesian-themed Disney film. Oh, I'm sorry, were you expecting a negative review? Even though Moana's grandmother pretty much told us what would happen, it's the execution that really captures its audience, giving us a good balance of awesome action and great musical numbers, which, by the way, I will get to later. But it's not just about the journey. It's also about the relationship between Moana and Maui, and how they need to learn from one another in order to understand how important their mission is for the sake of the people. Whether it be Maui living up to his legend, or Moana becoming a selfless leader.
I'm not going on a mission with some little girl.
This is my canoe, and you will journey to different...
What the movie would succeed the most conceptually would have to be the world that it's set in. You can tell that this is a living, breathing environment that brings the folklore of the Pacific Islands to life. Not to mention that even Moana's village has its own backstory and presents a great representation of the common life in the islands. Don't expect the story to go big at the start. Give it some time, and it will pay off very well. The animation. As Disney brings us to their interpretation of the South Pacific, it also tries to find new ways to step up their animation. What the animators succeed the most is the core mixture of the believable and the mythological. The believable aspect would be from most of the designs, from the well-respected looks of the Polynesian people, to the whole layout of the village, to the fine details of the boats and the islanders' standard of living. Especially on the latter, this is where Disney's importance on research truly shines, where they make sure that every small thing in the feature would really bring out that feeling of the location. As for the mythological part, that's where the innovation and the clever use of effects kick in. From the creatures they face to the areas like Lalotai, that's where the colors become the most vibrant, and the animators put in great importance on the size of Moana's obstacles in order to present the grand scale of the journey that she has to go through. It also makes it a great help for the action scenes to add in a good sense of intensity and grabbing the full attention of its audience. And then you get the ocean itself. Sure, there are many animated films that can present strong use of water, and even in here, there are many great moments of waves and storms, but the movie takes it to a whole new direction as it makes the water an entire character in the same veins of the magic carpet from Aladdin, manipulating it in ways where it now has a mind of its own and can bring some memorable moments, whether they be comical or awe-inspiring. Another piece of animation that's innovatively fun to watch is the 2D animation done on Mini Maui. As for the musical numbers visually, there isn't a lot that adds in to make the animation really stand out other than the choreography. The two big exceptions to this are You're Welcome with its clever use of mixing 2D and 3D animation, and shiny with the creative ways that the animators use Tamatoa. Moana's journey isn't just extravagant in itself. The animation helps it to make it look extravagant too. The characters. With the many characters that they encounter, the movie makes sure that the two biggest focuses are on Moana and Maui. Starting off with the titular character, you could tell how they tried to set her up as a new role model for audiences. As much as she cares about exploring what's beyond the reef, she also shows that she loves the people in her village. One day, she will become the chief, and that's what inspires her to venture into new territories for the benefit of her people. However, as she goes off on her big journey, this is where she has to learn about confidence as a leader and to make sure that she would know what she's doing. She's the kind of character that has flaws in all the right places, the kind where she wants to take and improve upon them for the benefit of herself and everyone she cares about. As for Maui, he's more of the comically egotistical type that embraces the legend that he is known for, mostly having this superstar attitude during his first moments with Moana.
I am Moana.
Hero of men.
What?
It's actually Maui, shapeshifter, demigod of the wind and sea, hero of men. I interrupted from the top. Hero of men. Go.
However, unlike most self-centered characters like him, the movie dives deep into his origins and how he was able to get his powers, on top of knowing what he ultimately wants to do as a demigod. When you look upon the rest, they all share a rather minor role, and they literally only had 15 minutes of fame with a couple of exceptions. There's Moana's eccentric grandmother, Tala, who encourages her to go explore what's beyond the islands, Hey, the comic relief who actually appears in the movie a lot more than the pig, and Chief Tui, the overprotective father. What's probably surprising from this film, though, is that it doesn't have a main antagonist. Okay, technically, the characters have to face 3 opponents who aim for Te Fiti's heart, like the Kakamora, Tamatoa, and Taka. But they act more like enemies that appear in a scene or two than actually be considered as a member of the Disney villains. Don't get me wrong though, they're great and they pose as a major threat, but they don't appear as much to be considered as a true villain. But even if Moana and Maui dominate the entire feature, the characters overall are still proven to be very strong. The songs. If there would be anyone who should have the bragging rights for knowing that Lin-Manuel Miranda would be a legend before Hamilton, it would hands down be Disney. They knew that with his talents and the help of Opataya Foai and Mark Mancina, they would create some strong musical moments for the feature. The big key of this would have to be the overall theme of the Pacific Islands, which some of them capture very well with songs like Where You Are, We Know the Way, and I Am Moana that incorporate some of the Polynesian traditions.
Moana, make way, Moana, it's time you knew, the village of Motunui is all you need. Away, we set a course to find a brand new island everywhere we roll. The things you have learned will guide you, and nothing on earth can silence the quiet voice still inside you.
Other than those, there are some that stand out in their own unique way. There's You're Welcome that acts more like an upbeat and more comical song that puts more emphasis on the fun and playing with the character of Maui.
There's no need to pray, it's okay, you're welcome. Ha! I guess it's just my way of being me.
There's also Shiny, which is admittedly the weakest because instead of being in line with the others, it rather wants to perform this R&B style number where you could tell that this is more in the hands of Jermaine Clements than Miranda. Not a bad song in itself, it's just the one that fits in the least in this movie.
I'd rather be shiny, like a treasure from a sunken pirate wreck. Scrub the deck and make it look shiny.
And then there's How Far I'll Go. What Let It Go is to Frozen, this is to Moana. The big inspiring musical number that's set to make Moana who we shall remember her as.
See the line where the sky meets the sea, it calls me, and no one knows how far it goes.
This is one of those rare movies that will give a strong urge to grab that soundtrack, because the songs are really that enjoyable, fun, uplifting, and especially very well crafted. It may not be as amazing as Zootopia, but it still stands as a great Disney animated feature. Moana is a wonderful movie that is capable of taking something familiar like the Disney formula and deliver it in a whole new way with an engagingly original story, beautiful animation, great characters, and lovable songs, all packaged in one big love letter to the Pacific Islands. The one thing that has never changed my mindset since its announcement was that this will be a film that will absolutely be worth watching. And it actually is! So I highly recommend that you go see this one. Also, before the movie would begin, they would show an animated short called Inner Workings, which looks into a normal man's life through the point of view of his organs. If I could be honest, I get that they want to make an homage to Disney's more abstract cartoons from the 1950s, but this ended up as one of their weaker shorts. Not only is the art style too weird and crazy for computer animation, but the plot feels like it's trying to copy Paperman mixed with Inside Out. But luckily, the movie itself made it more than worth it to have the experience, and this is why I'm giving this the AniMat's seal of approval. Oh, and one more thing, somehow this film reminded me to go watch more Disney films. Am I the only one who would get a confidence boost from them?
See the light as it shines on the sea. It's blinding, but no one knows how deep it